Halftime show. Appreciate you hanging with us. I'm Terry Ford. The next guy to talk will be Tyler Head. Say hi, Tyler, to the billions listening across the world.
Good afternoon. Happy April Fool's Day to everybody out there. Again, don't believe everything that you read today, which you really shouldn't any day in today's world, Twitter headlines and stuff like that. But especially today, if you see something that seems like it's not true, it's probably not.
Matter of fact, only believe you and I.
Exactly. For the next 3 hours, we'll give you nothing but truth.
That's right. Nothing but truth. Well, plus, we can't do April Fool's jokes anyway anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is if you work in any kind of office type of environment, I think at this point, any outside of, I don't know, what's a very harmless, cheesy, simple joke? But I don't know, outside of like moving somebody's coffee cup.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do too much now.
Yeah, it's kind of everything. Legal and HR pretty much wiped out any kind of April Fool's jokes you're going to be doing.
Yeah, you know.
The fun suckers of the business world.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than telling a really funny joke or doing something really funny and getting that email that, hey, HR would like to talk to you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Well, clearly the joke was so good, they want to hear me tell it in person, right? Like, I told the joke so well that clearly human resources wants me to tell it to them so they can laugh too, right?
Because they're the fun squad.
They have such a great sense of humor. In fact, I hear somebody in HR knows a guy that runs like a comedy club or something like that. Maybe they're going to get me like on open mic night or something.
Well, you know, most of your HR folks started in comedy.
Exactly. They all have a great sense of humor.
Fantastic sense of humor. I see that. I can see that interview. Hi, do you have a sense of humor? No. You'll be perfect for our HR department. Love to have you.
You told a joke in the office the other day. I want to run this. All right, so this guy walks into a bar, right? We're off to a good start.
Right. Oh man, or the old I got a great priest joke.
Sorry.
Never goes down a good road.
Three different types of people walk into an establishment.
That's right.
All right, buckle up. Here we go.
I mean, yeah. So we can't do April Fool's jokes anymore. We used to do them. We used to have a lot of fun with them in radio,
especially rock radio.
Oh God, we did some crazy stuff. I've told the story here. We did the April Fool's joke when I was in Baltimore doing sports talk that the Ravens made a huge trade and acquired Tim Couch from the Cleveland Browns, and that thing caught fire, ended up on ESPN, ended up in Cleveland.
That is an all-time joke because of how much traction it got.
Yeah.
It made it to the ticker on ESPN.
I'm going to tell you what, when we saw it on the ticker, we all went, holy bleep. This actually worked. I mean, because again, it wasn't, we didn't have a grand plan. We were just sitting there going, it's April Fool's Day. You want to do something stupid? Sure, let's do something stupid.
But you know what? That shows the rapport and respect they had for you guys and the validity of what you usually say, because if it came out of your mouth, it was believable, and they ran with it.
It was funny. And then we heard that the station in Cleveland was carrying the story, and the talk station competition in town, the GM walked in and looked at the anchor, said, "Why are we running the story?" "What story? You haven't even heard the story?" "No." "Here's the story." "Well, let me confirm it and check with source." No, screw it. If those goobers on the sports talk station they can't scoop us, go on the air with it.
And that's why you always need a second source of verification before you run stories. And that's journalism 101.
And you need a GM that understands that. So anyway, we can't do them anymore. I mean, when I was in rock radio, oh my God, we did some crazy stuff. It was fun. But you can't do them anymore. You might get sued. We used to do scavenger hunts. That were phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you put stuff on the list like get on TV, and you would get listeners who would actually go walk behind a TV guy, and you had to make. It was always like get behind the TV guy and do the two little stupid fingers over his back.
There was one I read. It was a while back. I don't know how many years ago this was. I think it's been pretty recently. A radio station for April Fool's Day was doing something like, "Hey, if you tattoo the name of our station on your forehead, we'll give you free tickets to something." Mm-hmm. The guy went and did it. And he showed up at the station like, "Hey, bud, it was an April Fool's joke." And now he's suing him for it.
Oh, absolutely. That's why you can't do these anymore. The one I never liked, and a lot of stations did this one, was they have a morning show, right? And typically, like if you had two guys and a girl in the morning show, they do some bet, and if whoever lost the bet had to walk naked down the street.
Okay.
And usually they had the girl lose the bet on the rock station.
Right.
And so, of course, you know what
Tell
happened.
me they don't want to see you walking down the street
Yeah,
like
they
that.
didn't really want to see me. No, there weren't a lot of construction worker dudes that said, man, I hope that Ford loses the bet. So you get a bunch of people who want to see it,
Yeah.
and she would be walking down the street with a dog named Naked.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was
That's good. That's good.
I think that was done in a million markets.
Sure. That's
That
clever.
one was done. Might have been done here by somebody. So we did one when I did country, that Alan Jackson was going to be in our parking lot signing autographs.
Okay.
And we had Alan Jackson, a dude from Youngstown, Ohio, named Alan Jackson.
The janitor named Alan Jackson.
He was he worked at what was it? Oh, a Menards, a local Menards.
Yeah,
he worked
right.
at. Alan Jackson was his name, and he came out, and people showed up. I mean, we had hundreds of people show up. So to make them feel better, we gave them tickets to a future Alan Jackson concert.
That's phenomenal. I love that.
And we gave him an Alan Jackson CD, his latest CD or whatever. But
Have you seen that? It's like I forget what the commercial is, but it's a dude that's named Michael Jordan. That's not Michael Jordan, and he's showing up for reservations, and everybody's disappointed when he's there. Like, we need to find that guy. Be like, hey, Michael Jordan, signing autographs out in front of our building here on Gervais Street, and the swarms of people that would come be like, who's this guy?
his name's Michael Jordan. Break out your driver's license, Mike.
We weren't wrong.
Hey,
it's
MJ.
really him.
Show me your birth certificate. So, hey, happy April Fool's. I hope that you or wherever you're at, somebody has a little sense of humor. They can not get fired
Yeah, I
for
hope you
having
have a
little
job
fun.
by April 2nd.
Exactly.
I'll say that much.
Jen says this, and I do agree in theory. April Fool's Day is like amateur hour, like New Year's Eve,
Sure.
whatever. But still, there's some good stuff every now and then on April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Our digital sales guy walked in. He goes, how you doing? I go, I'm doing all right. He goes, just want to let you know that, today I put in my notice. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I got a job offer, blah, blah, blah. I go, oh, well, okay. And he's waiting for me to, and I'm just like, okay. He's like, he's just looking at me. He's waiting for me to like fall into it so he can
Sure.
go, April Fool's. I was like, okay.
Oh.
You got a job.
I
Congratulations.
was kind of glad you were leaving, but okay.
Yeah, I go, nobody really liked you here anyway. And you really, from what I understand, you weren't doing that good of a job.
Yeah.
That's what I should have did. Should have. Yeah, you probably got out before they got you. Smart move. That's what I should have said. Man, I just thought of it. All right, so enjoy your April Fool's Day. Our buddy Captain Dave will be here soon. He's getting a root canal.
Oof.
He said no anesthesia because he's a man.
The honey buns, they got a lot of sugar in them.
Yeah. Usually a good idea, brush those teeth.
Yeah. I got sick of paying for cavities, so I've stepped up my tooth care here recently, and it's paid off.
My family, genetically, I come from a family with awful teeth.
Okay.
Awful teeth. So my entire life, out of fear, all I've done is brush my teeth like a maniac. Floss them, brush them. I brush them while I eat. I'm so paranoid. And it still hasn't worked. My teeth still suck. All that for nothing. Ugh. But anyway, so our buddy Captain Dave will be here as he comes back from his root canal. Shane Beamer speaking to the media at about 21 minutes from now. We'll hear what the head football coach has to say about spring practice so far. And obviously, we'll kind of give our thoughts on what he says, but that's coming up bottom of the hour, 12:30, just here in Columbia at 107.5 The Game. Not in our affiliates, just here in Columbia, again, at 107.5 The Game. Shane Beamer talking to the media about what's been going on as spring practice. A few weeks now into spring practice. Also, yesterday, Lonnie Teasley, offensive line coach, Coach Robertson, defensive line coach, Coach Lucas, who coaches the DNs, also talked to the media. So we're going to get you some sound from the position coaches on the defensive side of the ball through the show today as well. Obviously, a baseball game on a Tuesday night in Columbia, South Carolina, against mid-major. Typically, you go, okay, you just pile your W and you move on. South Carolina's won all of these type of games this year.
Need to get out there and win a game, but Presbyterian will not be any walk in the park, I can assure you of that. Of course, I studied them today, and they're pitching their Friday night guy, their Friday starters started every Friday up until this past weekend. So, there'll be a challenge there. I'm sure he's their best guy. And, we're going to counter with Tyler Pitzer, who'll get his first start of the year, try to get him back on the horse and see if we can't get him pitching well again for us. But we're going to have to battle these guys tomorrow, and nothing to be taken for granted. But obviously, we want to win very badly. I don't care who we're playing against. We need to just get off the schneid and get a win, and hopefully get ourselves a little momentum and some good positive thoughts before heading to Starkville this weekend.
I just got to get them win. We've talked about this. And I like, again, is it a little bit over the top saying it's like Game 7? Sure. But you know what? You need a win.
But, I get it. I get what he's saying.
Can I say something?
Sure.
And again, I don't say this typically this time of year. This is a must-win.
Yeah, it is.
This is a must-win for you right now with the way your season's going.
The next 2 weeks literally determine if the season's going to be worth anything or not. Again, tonight in midweek against Presbyterian, you got another midweek next week against USC Upstate. But you go on the road to Mississippi State and A&M, two teams that just like you are 1-8 in conference play, have not started off strong, and A&M was thought to be one of the best teams in the country, and they're off to a rocky start. And if you can't come out of this just little 8-game stretch here with at least 5 wins, then you're not really playing for anything.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you're barely hanging on right now by your fingernails. Like, you see that commercial, was it Old Spice or something, where the dude's hanging by his nails and the guy, I guess his hands are slippery or whatever from sweat, and the dude falls? That's South Carolina right now. They're holding on.
Right.
And they hope they don't get the guy with the slippery sweat hands. So you got to win tonight. I mean, that's just it. And I feel goofy saying it against Presbyterian on a Tuesday night. This is where you're at.
And I mean, ideally, you'd like to win comfortably, 10-2 run rule or something along those lines. But man, even if it has to be 15-14, you'll take it.
Hell, at this point, man, 1.5 to 1.
Yeah.
It's just you gotta pull a W. You just have to get a win. It's not even negotiable.
Yeah.
You have to win this game.
We talked about it yesterday. That mentality you can set in the more you lose. And again, there's the one guy in the locker room that's not afraid to say it. We suck, guys. And again, when you're getting into these games, and tonight, another example of it. Let's say you're in the bottom of the 7th inning, top of the 7th inning. You've got a 1-run lead, and suddenly Presbyterian puts up 3. Now you're down by 2, and everybody's like, "Oh, here we go again. It's happening again. 8th game in a row, whatever it may be." And again, it's that mentality that sets in the more it happens.
Yeah, and you got to put a stop to this now. If you lose the Presbyterian on a Tuesday night, after what has gone on here the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
And then you go into Starkville, and again, Mississippi State's struggling this year as well. But you got to go play and hear those stupid cowbells and all that other ridiculousness. You got to win tonight. Walking off the field with a W is a must this evening for South Carolina. And to be fair, they've handled these games all year.
Yep.
So hopefully they will continue. All right, Shane Beamer Presser Cup at 12:30 tonight. Baseball. Presbyterian, 6:15 on the Game in Columbia, and our affiliate, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Again, that is what's happening today and tonight here on the Game. Lonnie Teasley, offensive line coach, discusses what it's like to replace 3 starters on the interior of the offensive line. We got that next. It's a halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, David Ayers on his way back. We go till 3 on the Game.
because I went to the dentist a couple weeks ago, and they do they take X-rays and stuff. But they also have little cameras that can they'll go in your mouth and stuff like that. And I don't need to see that.
No, I don't need to see my own.
Yeah, I even looking in the mirror at my own mouth sometimes, I'm like, ew. You know what? To anybody out there listening that's a dentist, my hat off to you. Yeah. I could not spend my entire day like looking in people's mouths, messing with that just seems
putting my hand in their mouth.
Very off-putting.
There are certain jobs that I know pay well.
Sure.
But I don't know if I could do them because having to invade people's persons in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
But their mouths are so. The variable of mouths is crazy.
Who has a good looking inside of their mouth?
Nobody really. And again, like, it's common courtesy to brush before you go.
Yes.
I imagine not everybody does that.
No, they don't.
So you're dealing with stinky breath and
I don't need that.
Pulling out stuff. Like, what is this? I don't know.
Nah,
been in there for a while.
Nah, I just can't. Nah. And the idea is, no one's ever said this. Man, I tell you what. Went out with a girl. She was awesome. Really, what'd you like the most? Inside of her mouth was so hot looking. Well, her teeth.
Yeah.
Oh my God, her teeth. And gums.
It would have to be this girl that's gone missing recently, is it?
Stephen Wright, who I was a comedian. Never a huge fan of Stephen Wright.
I know him.
But he did have one little funny thing. He goes, I'm in love with a girl. She's a dental hygienist. So before I go to see her, I eat a whole box of Oreos. That's what I would get if I'm a dentist. I'll get the guy eating the Oreos out in the waiting area.
That's funny. Sorry, I just had garlic and anchovies before I came in. Hope you don't mind.
Right. It's like, whoa, that halitosis. All righty. So Dave will be here soon, but we got to put you know what? I might put that picture up on social media of Dave getting in the chair.
Sure.
Why not?
I have a picture of me last time I went where because they have to put the glasses on you when they clean.
Yep.
And you got the bib on, the glasses. Yeah, I looked like something.
Yeah, that's what Dave looks like right now. Looks like a Men in Black thing. All right, so South Carolina, spring practice. Shane Beamer presser coming up here, bottom of the hour, 12:30. Real quick, some Lonnie Teasley, offensive line coach. Here's Lonnie talking about it replacing his center and both guards from last season.
Oh, that's been going good. First thing is you got to make sure we got the center spot right. So we got a bunch of guys repping there. RJ, Boaz, Marquis, Chase, and, all those guys been doing well. And so, they've been doing well with that. And then we got guys who've been in the program who've played guard. So they're just taking the next step. And then we got some guys doing some different first-time playing guard who've been with us. So all of it's been working well, though. Those guys are getting comfortable in there, working with each other. The new guard, like we got Nick, who's new. It's just getting comfortable communicating with each other, knowing how everybody ticks and that sort of thing.
I mean, you look at this thing, it feels like everyone talks about Boaz Stanley to be the starter, but you heard Marquis Anderson's taking some reps at center.
Yeah.
You're hearing about others who are right now, sniffing around the center position. It feels like Stanley will be the guy. That's the early, you just started the race, and as they've come out of the starting gate and they're getting around the first lap or two, it feels like Boaz Stanley's ahead, but there's no guarantee there. But he's a guy that did a nice job. Once he transitioned from tackle to center last year, he was a much better player.
Yeah, I think that'd be the area would be surprised if it's not him, just on what we know as of right now. But the guard spots seem very wide open. Marquis Anderson and Tree and Nick Sharp coming over from Wake Forest. Rodney Newsome at Western Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the real questions come in, is who's going to be starting on either side of Boaz Stanley.
All right, speaking of Tree and Tro, here's Lonnie Teasley talking about Baugh and Babalade and what he expects now that they're their third year in the program.
Yeah, so with those, I tell them you're all year 3 now, so we shouldn't be, I expect something more out of you, and they've been both good with that. There are certain things like when you're a freshman, they're going to make freshman mistakes, and now they're past that point, and I always tell them we can move on to level 200 and 300 problems now.
Yeah, I mean, you do expect more out of them.
Sure.
It's that time to step up. I mean, guys even like Marquis Anderson, Cam Pringle, other guys who have been in the program multiple years. It's time. And for Marquis Anderson, stay healthy, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's been a big issue with him. And for Tretenshaw, how much does going back to the bench last year and not getting as much playing time, was that a learning experience? How much did that help you? Because, again, it's wide open now. There's spots for the taking. Can you go out there and take them?
But the good news is that you're not just expecting the development of those guys, because you do have a Nick Sharp, a Rodney Newsom, guys like that who have played and have started and have production. And so that's the good news there. But that's some Lonnie Teasley talking about the offensive line. All right, Shane Beamer's presser, bottom of the hour, 12:30, coming up on the halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, hang until 3 on the game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Are we ready to go, Tyler? Are we set?
Not just yet. Nope.
Not yet. All right, waiting for Shane Beamer to take the podium for spring practice presser number 2 with the coach. A lot of competition this year, so I'm sure Shane will get a lot of questions about that. Probably get a question about the whole Deion Sanders, Fran Brown, Syracuse, Colorado want to do joint practices, and the NCAA saying, well, it's too late in the spring, and 2, it might be a recruiting advantage because if I'm a recruit, I absolutely now want to go play at one of those 2 schools because they're practicing with each other in the spring. Could be one of the most dumbest things. The NCAA is the king of dumb, but that's a dumb one. I never thought about going to the University of Syracuse till they did that spring practice with Colorado.
Yeah, I think this is something that'll eventually come to pass at some point down the road. But
I do too.
Yeah, not
this year.
I think we're having some technical problems at the moment, so we'll
get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Don't worry.
All right, no big deal. All right, since we are waiting for the technical problems to go, which they will, let's scoot on over to what we usually do at this time, just in case you just woke up here on the game. And that's one of the things we were going to talk about was the NCAA denying this request for Colorado and Syracuse to have a joint practice. They're saying, well, it was too late. Should have asked sooner. Should have asked earlier. Okay, I'm asking now for next year.
Yep.
Boom. Here we go. I'm asking right now for next year so you can cross one excuse off your little excuse list. So give me the other one. What's going to be the next excuse? Oh, a recruiting advantage? Everybody can do it. Why not let everybody do it?
Okay. So let's just say that let's say that's the reason. And let's just say for the heck of it, Syracuse goes and does this. They do this joint practicing with Colorado. What's the NCAA going to do? What are they actually going to be able to do if you go against them on this? What power do they still have at this point?
That's a good point. They don't.
I mean, I get why you're asking them to
So
seek the approval, but even if you went and did it, or let's say you did it behind closed doors, secret.
I was going to say you have you have those super secret practices in men's college basketball all the time.
The last time I checked, there isn't an NCAA official at every single spring practice.
You know what you almost want to do? They say no. You want to pop up and say this. Oh, well, we're going to go do it anyway. Take us to court. You lose every time.
Exactly. Like, what are you going to do?
It's just, it's silly. It's asinine. And eventually this is going to start happening.
Sure.
It just is.
Sure.
And it's a smart thing to do, matter of fact. I think if I was a coach, I would want to practice against another school.
Well, and then Fran Brown brought it up the other day. It's like, look, we're tired of hitting the same guys for a month straight.
Yeah. Everybody is. Players can't. I mean, Shane, again, he'd like to play a preseason game against somebody, an exhibition game.
It just gives you something.
Yes.
Being able to say, hey, well, our defensive line isn't as good as we thought they were because Colorado's pushed them around.
And you do the same thing you do in the NFL. You set these practices up, seeing certain things you want to see, and you go to the other coach and, okay, here's my list. What's your list? Okay, cool. Let's set these practices up.
And doing this with, like Gundy suggested, having Bedlam in the spring, like that's not going to happen. You're not trying to help your rival out, but 2 teams that you theoretically are never going to see each other outside of a postseason, square off, who cares? Again, Syracuse and Colorado could not be farther away from each other. They play in different conferences. The likelihood of them seeing each other during the season is very low.
Yeah, it's just the NCAA being the NCAA. They want to say no so bad now because they want to show that they have some authority left.
Yeah, sure.
And they have no authority, in the words of the great Cartman.
Does this violate antitrust?
That's
is there
where
some
I would
way
go.
that this violates antitrust?
I was kidding with somebody yesterday. I said, you know what you got to do? You got to say this is violating the kids' ability to leverage their NIL. So if you don't let us practice against another team, you are breaking our antitrust.
Everything else
abilities.
breaks antitrust, so I don't. Why not?
Why
sure.
not?
What the
All
heck?
you got to say is antitrust, and the NCAA hides in the fetal position in the corner.
Well, that automatically lose.
Yeah, they'll lose.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another quick one real quick while we're waiting for Shane Beamer to pop up. They have a little technical difficulty, and they'll be ready here shortly. How about Coastal Carolina? Let's hear it for the Chanticleers, baby. How about that? Free eats. I'm going to go to a game.
And
We'll go to a game?
It sounds like, heck yeah. You know how I love free food.
Same here.
Apparently there's no restriction on this.
No.
Because if you ask for 50 hot dogs, here you go.
We need to do a nacho eating contest sitting in the stands.
I can do that.
I can do that. I don't do hot dog eating contests. I'll do a nacho eating contest.
Not a hot dog guy.
Not to do a hot dog eating contest, no. Well, I won't even watch it.
Really?
But I'll do nachos.
Yeah, I love the hot dog contest.
I think it's a vile thing. When I
But
see somebody almost regurgitate a hot dog on my television, I can't.
You know, I know the cheese comes from a can, but there's just something nostalgic about ballpark nachos.
I love nachos. I know. I'm with you. I agree. I know. I know it's just some kind of cheese thing, but I still love nachos in the ballpark.
Well, if you've ever seen it, it's the giant, like, I don't know how many ounces it is, huge, enormous cans. They just heat it up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like bubbly and stuff like
That's
that. And
okay.
they just scoop it into the
Tastes
little
good
trays.
on my nachos.
Yeah, you can mix it in there with some chili or something like that, or some fries.
Tell you what, man, I do. I could sit and just eat nachos all day for free like that. And what Coastal's doing is very smart, by the way.
Sure.
You got to get the app.
Yeah.
See, you do this on the app.
That's what's going to get a lot of people initially.
Yes.
Because they're going to show up and be like, hey, give me 20 hamburgers. Got to have the app.
And then you get the app, and guess what they can do? You know what they're going to be able to do? Send you messages and notifications.
Yes. Take nothing at face value.
Right.
There's always, and again, it's still legit. You can still go there and get the free food, but you do have to go through some steps to get there.
So you think about if you add the app, they're sending you notification stuff that you might get a notification of something that's interesting to you. That's what they want. They want your info so they can, use that to maybe, I don't know, pick up some, generate some revenue.
Update. We're still having some technical difficulties, but people on the live stream are taking to reporting false things that they're hearing him say, like they're actually getting the presser, and it's actually pretty funny.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Read me one.
Cameron says 6'8", 350 offensive line. Wow, that's going to help the run game tremendously. Way to go, coach. As if he's announcing something.
That's funny.
Somebody else says, I'm waiting for somebody to post about Lenore Sellers transferring and freak everybody out. So at least they're having fun with it.
Good. Hey, it's April 1st.
Yeah, well, why not?
Why not? So I love this, what Coastal Carolina's doing. This is fantastic. Look, for me, if I'm going to the games, I will get the app and I don't care.
Sure.
So I can go eat free nachos and popcorn and get me drinks.
And look, again, Coastal Carolina, I'm sure they're passionate fans in their fan base, but the average person that goes to their school is not going to be as passionate about football as, say, somebody here at South Carolina, because it's not as big of a thing at the G5 level. But hey, Saturday, there's a game. I'll go hang out. I'll go have some food. I'll bring some friends, whatever it may be. Like, that's getting butts in your seats.
Yes.
That may not otherwise come.
Absolutely. That's what you're doing. If you get 20 people that decide they want to go to the game that are going because they can sit and eat for free and watch the game, and whatever you're charging a ticket, at 20 extra people's extra revenue, man.
So much about college sports is optics.
Yep.
And if you're a G5 school and you're close to packing the place out, even if it is because of the free food, that just looks good.
Because they got to pay for the ticket.
Exactly.
You ain't getting in for free.
Exactly.
So,
now, did they raise their ticket prices this year?
Oh, I heard a teeny bit.
I don't know if that's going to account for all the food, but
And that's the thing. Here's the thing, too, about it. So, how much money are you making on the markup of the food through the concession? And how much is the concession making? What kind of deal do you have to set with the concession where you're going to pay them X amount of money for the food that they're giving out for free?
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I just really do. Not just that I want to selfishly sit and eat nachos for 4 quarters.
Now, my question is your supply.
Oh, you're going to have to supply.
Now, because, again, if you run out of hot dogs, then you run out of hot dogs. Like, are you prepared for the high, especially at the beginning? Because here's the thing. People are going to test this.
Oh, sure.
People are going to see how far they can go.
You know a dude is going to order 100 hot dogs.
Oh, sure. And if he gets them, he's going to be passing them out to other people or whatever it may be. But
I got to look.
People are going to try their best here.
There's got to be a limit per person on your order. There's got to be a limit. You can go as many times as you want.
Yeah, well, like in the video.
There's got to be a limit.
In the video, it seems like there's not. But there's probably some fine print or a catch or,
There's
I don't
got
know,
to be.
maybe the app glitches out if you ask for too much. Like, oh, sorry.
Because like I was telling somebody stories about the old Christmas parties in radio. And I worked at a place that had free bar, open bar.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, it was for an hour from like 6 to 7 at 6:55. I need 10 Coronas. I need a magnum of champagne and a bottle of your best whiskey.
Yeah.
So you know what's going to
Sir,
happen.
you going to drink that in the next 3 minutes? No.
I remember people would like get a bunch of like I remember I used to go to this one place, a nightclub back in the day when I was young, and they had like quarter beers till like 10 o'clock.
Sure.
So a guy would walk up by like, I need 50 quarter beers, and he put them on his table and just drink them through the night.
Yeah. That's smart.
When you can get a deal, people find a way to work a deal.
Again, there's going to be some headlines coming out about this in the fall. I'm predicting that right now. But if I was in the area on a Saturday and I didn't have anything else to do, I'd go to a game just for this.
Chance Miller, nice work, man.
Even if the team wasn't good, I'd be like, free food and go watch some football.
Hey,
sure.
Chance Miller, we appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Hey, where'd he come from?
Yep. I'm from here. All right, that's some of the stuff that has been going on. Maybe you just woke up and didn't hear here on the game. We're going to hit a break, come on back, and hopefully the technical difficulties will be taken care of.
Yes.
So let's hit a break, and we will come back. Shane Beamer Presser coming up as soon as the technical glitches get fixed over there across the street at the football complex. It's a halftime show in the game. All right, Shane Beamer Press, there's still some technical difficulties across the street in South Carolina. And if they run it, we'll run it. If they just repost it, maybe we'll rerun it later. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But Shane Beamer's presser right now with some technical difficulties. And we'll kind of play it by ear.
Yep.
We'll get there. All right, Firehouse up, text the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
So Troy, in reference to the Coastal Carolina thing, they did mention on the Sports Minute as well, it is limited to 4 concession items per visit, but unlimited visits.
So you can get 4 a
So
pop.
you can get 4 a pop all day for 3.5 hours and get as many as you want. And again, somebody is going to push this.
Sure. There's no doubt.
By the way, there's multiple concession stands. So if, let's say there's 8, I can hit all 8 of them in one swing. That's 32 hot dogs.
There you go. And you know, ready. And I know this because, again, I'm saying this because I have relatives who would do this. Ready? Hey, honey, grab some of your big old bags, some of them big grocery bags. We going shopping.
Yeah.
Where? At the football game.
Yep.
How many hot dogs we bring home? We could eat for a week, baby.
The people that take the salt shakers at restaurants
Yep. Yep.
or all the extra ketchup packets.
Sure. Hey, no, don't put those ketchup packets back. Why? We might be able to use them. Yeah.
Have I ever told you about my grandmother stealing from Piccadilly?
No.
You're familiar with the Piccadilly restaurants, right? You know,
yeah.
It's like a buffet, go through and
sure.
you select your items and all that kind of stuff. Well, when I was a kid, that was kind of our like go-to place when we would go eat on during the week or whatever. I'd go with my nana and pawpaw and we'd go to Piccadilly. And they had the dessert at the very end in the little like plastic cups. It'd be like pudding or jello and all that kind of stuff. And for whatever reason, I never wanted to eat the dessert there. I always wanted to take it with me because I'd eat my dinner and say, hey, I want to get some jello or something to take home. So she'd go back up there with a little styrofoam box. And instead of taking the jello and dumping it in the box, she'd take the entire cup and put it in the box. And so we'd get back to my house and my mom would open it. She's like, you took the cup? She's like, well, yeah, I wasn't going to just dump the jello onto the styrofoam. Over the years, I'm not kidding, we probably accrued anywhere between 12 to 15 of these jello cups from Piccadilly that every time we'd go, we'd just end up taking one. And we still have them at my parents' house, by the way.
That's
And
hilarious.
the Piccadilly by us closed down a couple years ago to build a Chick-fil-A. And we told her, like, Nana, it's because you kept stealing from them.
That's right.
They lost their inventory. They couldn't keep up.
The money they had to spend to replace all the stuff you stole. Nana.
Exactly. But it's like, we still use the cups for, dips and things like that. Small little tiny cup. And, yeah, she was stealing from Piccadilly for all those years.
That's hilarious. I see her mugshot on the internet. My ex's mom and dad, they're great people. He's a military guy, straight arrow dude. She's your typical grandma, and they're just great people. And we went to Disney with them, and we were in a rainforest. Remember the Rainforest cafes?
Yes, I've been there.
Well, we were at Rainforest Cafe at Disney. I don't know, probably not. It's probably gone.
Oh, it's still there.
It's still there?
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting there because they got all those cool glasses and everything, right?
Sure.
And so we're just sitting there joking around, and I said to my ex's dad, I go, that's pretty nice. Because he got a beer. It's pretty nice. That's pretty nice glass.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it is. He goes, look good in your house. He goes, you think? I go, look great. He goes, what do you think I should do? I think you should put it in your wife's purse. He's like, I like that idea. She goes, I like my glass too. I think I'm going to put it in my purse. And all of a sudden, they're like, we like all your glasses. So she put like 6 glasses in her purse. She's clanging as she's walking out. I'm like, Robbie, you're not good at this stealing thing. You can't make all that noise.
That's funny.
And so to this day, no, I don't know to this day because my ex and I broke up years and years and years ago. But for as long as I knew them, they had those glasses in the house.
I'd like to think that whenever they see them, they still think of you.
They think of me.
Like, that Terry.
God, thank God he's out of. Thank God that he's no longer with our girl. Thank God. Best thing ever happened to us. He
Delinquent.
made us steal things out of the Rainforest Cafe.
I always wondered why we went to his neighborhood and there was bars on all the windows.
What about that bail bondsman truck always pulled up at the house?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. So I'll never forget that. Though. She's walking, Tyler, and she's clanging, and I'm just dying. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, and the funny thing about the Piccadilly thing was like there was workers there that were putting things out, in the little areas where you could grab food. Like I'm sure they saw her do it multiple times and just never said anything.
Yep.
but it's like it's hilarious that this
Oh, that is great.
small old elderly woman was stealing from Piccadilly
That is actually
constantly.
good. That is actually great. She was like a klepto.
She, I guess.
Absolute klepto.
Didn't take anything else, just that. And listen, I give them credit because those plastic cups have held up over 20 years because they
See?
still get. I'll go back home and my dad's got ranch in it for pizza or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm
That's
like,
too
oh,
funny.
there's the cups again.
That is fantastic. I have mad respect and props for your grandma.
Yeah.
Nana,
Actually,
Thumbs
I saw
up.
her the other day in the hospital, but she brought it up then. She's like, yeah, remember when I used to steal those things from Piccadilly? I'm like, I do.
so good. That is so good. All right, halftime show. He's Tyler Head. I'm Terry Ford. We're hanging out here till 3 on the game.
We can give you some updates at the top of the hour of what Beamer said.
Yes.
Because the press conference said it's technical difficulties.
Yeah, so we will, and when they re-rack it, when they put it back up, depending on what time it is put back up, we will attempt to possibly play it later on in the day for you.
Yes.
But we'll get you some updates from it coming up top of the hour. Also, let's do this right now. We got time. Get our cool Celtic bagpipe music, Tyler. Grab that real fast. We'll give away some. We're going to do this text to win. So text our Firehouse Sub text line 803-404-6100. 2 family 4-packs to go to Celtic Days or Tartan Days this Saturday. Tartan Days, 2 family 4-packs. Text to win right now, 803-404-6100. 2 family 4-packs we will give away to Tartan Days this Saturday. We'll be out there. One of the members of our crew will be out there along with the cool tent and whatever else we have at Tartan Days. Whoever goes out, maybe we'll put him in a kilt and have him throw a telephone pole.
Yeah, I don't think they'll let you in unless you wear a kilt.
I'll be honest with you. I know we typically don't have Dave to go do things,
This would be perfect for him.
but Dave loves Tartan Days. I think Dave owns a kilt,
Okay.
and I believe Dave has thrown a telephone pole.
I don't know about the last part. I could believe the other ones.
So it might be a Meet Dave Adair day at Tartan Days.
They'll come out in swarms.
Hey, look, they're the 2 guys that have been here since the beginning of this radio station, Jay Phillips and who?
Captain Dave.
Captain Dave. So it might be spend Tartan Days with Captain Dave and his kilt.
That's right.
We'll get some updates from Shane Beamer's presser, top of the hour as we go football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, right here on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, appreciate you hanging out with us here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Halftime show. Terry Ford, he's Tyler Head. We're going till 3 on the game. David Ayer still getting his root canal, or he's done. Should be on his way back. We'll put the picture up.
I discovered we go to the same dentist.
You didn't tell him, did you?
I did in the text message.
You shouldn't have done that. You don't want to carpool with you.
Well, you only go twice a year.
Roll over. Go to. He might ask you, when do you go, Tyler? Can I go with you? So.
Well, it's not like we'd be sitting in chairs next to each other there.
They might do that over there. Could you see sharing your dental visit with Dave?
I don't know about that. Well, if he's getting a root canal, it's going to take longer than mine.
Oh God, I got one of those years ago.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm getting cavities filled, but root canal's a little different.
Had one root canal, and they always, it's like they test you. They numb you up. And they go, does that hurt? No. How about this? No. How about this? Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, okay, just wanted to make sure.
Just wanted to make sure. And of course, he probably turns around and goes, So, yeah, one root canal, got the wisdom teeth done. But I was totally white. That said, knocked me out, man. I wasn't playing. They go count backwards from 100. Sure,
Yep.
100. I was done.
Yeah, I've never had the thing for dental work where they have to like completely put you under. I was awake when they took my wisdom teeth out.
No anesthesia.
I mean, I had anesthesia.
I was going to say.
It was the and it's funny because the dental hygienist told me, she's like, now every person I give this to, ask for a bottle of it when they leave. and again, because you from your nose down, you're numb,
You're
right?
numb, yeah.
It's a weird feeling, but it feels great at the same time. And I remember telling her, I was like, I get why people do drugs. I understand it.
Oh, when I woke up from when they did my wisdom teeth. First of all, I was wearing different clothes, which was bizarre. But
You didn't know your name.
it just kind of walked aimlessly for hours. But when I remember before I went in, I had to meet with the oral surgeon, and I mean, guy was like intense. And he's like, I sit down, he goes, okay. And he goes over the instructions. He goes, and by the way, reaches out of his desk and has a bottle of pills, slams them on the table. Boom. See those? Yeah. You're going to have a bottle just like that. It's going to be full, just like that. Do you know when you stop taking them? When? When the bottle's bleeping empty. He goes, because you think you're okay. But you're not okay. Do you want to feel pain? I was like, no. Then take all the pills.
What kind of dentist you go to?
I was like, the guy was like insane.
That seems like a situation in a sitcom.
Yeah.
For somebody that's really afraid of getting their wisdom teeth out. And, it'll be fine. It's going to be great. And you go and meet that guy, and you're like,
I mean,
I don't know.
I would care less until I met with him.
Sure.
I'll tell you one thing. I woke up because they knocked me out, and I woke up and I was loopy.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time came to pick me up and take me back home. And it's like I was honest to God stoned.
Sure.
I'm walking out. People in the waiting room. I'm like, hey, it's a lot of fun in there. They give me some good drugs, and the needles don't hurt. I mean, I was like, she's dragging me out, going, come on,
Yeah.
Tara, let's go.
Yeah.
And then I went home and passed out.
Yeah.
But drugs were great.
Sure.
And then, wow, I'll tell you, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I was enjoying myself.
That is, I got mine done the senior year of high school.
Really, I was like in my 20s.
At the end, we had like a winter break.
Uh-huh.
It was like at the end of that. So yeah, great way to spend a Friday.
All right, so football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Typically, we're carrying Shane Beamer's presser, but right now they're having technical difficulties with the feed. But we do have some notes from
Yes.
Shane's presser. What do you got there, Tyler?
Let's see here. This is per Jordan Kay of the State Newspaper, said in reference to the Syracuse and Colorado Alma scrimmaging. He said he'd be in favor of it, whether it's a spring game or something in the fall, which would be leading up to the start of the season. He says it gives him hope of something that could happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, whether you want to do it in the spring, whether you want to do it in the summer, I almost feel like, honestly, if you ask me which one, I'd probably prefer it in the summer because it's closer to getting my team ready for the season. But if you want to do it in the spring, I'm fine with it, whatever. But it's coming. And smart teams are going to take advantage of it and do it. this whole, I don't want to do it. Why? Well, we've always done it this way. Just stop. It's just more effective way to practice. Practicing involves playing football. Playing football involves hitting each other. Whether it's your own guys hitting each other or if it's some other guys hitting each other, you need to practice football to play football.
It's going to take one pair of schools doing this for it to start a trend.
Yeah.
I mean, again, let's go back to the Matt Rule thing on how how we got in the situation of games being canceled because he said something that a lot of coaches went, he might have a point. Or coaches that just in general wanted this clamped down anyway saw an excuse or an out. By the way, speaking of Matt Rule really quick, you remember that TikTok thing where he didn't want his players dancing on TikTok? Tell me why he's dancing on TikTok with a volleyball player.
Well, he shouldn't be on TikTok.
Shouldn't be.
No.
But he was.
Not that tick and talking.
No. And he was dancing too.
Rich Rod, you see that, Rich Rod?
I think he might be a hypocrite.
That would never happen. Stop it. All right, so that's what we'll continue to look for updates, whether it's Jordan Kay, Jack, whoever is at the presser. We will continue to look for updates. And once the presser is uploaded by South Carolina, we're going to get we'll get the presser on the air so you can hear it.
Yes.
So we got that. We'll have that coming up today here on the game. And look, again, I think it's smart to do these joint practices. I think in the NFL, if you ask NFL coaches, they want to do away with the preseason games, just do joint practices. It's just something where you can work on things you want to work on. You can control the practices to where you can focus on things that you think you need to focus on. I just like them. Coaches like them. And I just think it'd be a smart way to go. That's just me. That's just me. We are hanging around talking football, the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Let's get a couple cuts here real quick, Tyler, from the position coaches. I want to go back to Lonnie Teasley. We were discussing replacing the interior of your offensive line, the center and both guards. Lonnie talked about how Tree and Tro, Babalade and Ball, time to step up in year 3, time to improve. And the other thing I guess we can talk about is why those guys didn't transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Neither Tro or Tree hit the transfer portal. They stayed. And here's Lonnie Teasley talking about that subject, cut 6.
Yeah, I would put it as a testament to those guys and their character as far as just trusting Coach Beamer, trusting us. They know we are fair and we compete. And so it wasn't, when you have a relationship with guys, like you can be honest with them. And so like those aren't easy conversations because they want to play. Everybody wants to play and they'll tell you that. But I guess the relationships they have in this building, they knew we're going to do what's best for the team, but also what's best for them as well. Just a lot, my hat's off to them. Those are great stand-up dudes. And, like you said, those, like I was saying, the relationships, I think, help a lot where they trust you and know that you care for them. And this isn't a favoritism thing. This is just about Gamecocks winning games.
Can I agree and disagree at the same time?
Sure.
All right, let's go to the part where I agree. I think the reason that Tree and Tro stayed was the relationships. I think what Shane Beamer and the coaching staff and the football program do is they do build a culture of we care about you. We care about you as a person more than you as a player. I think when you build that culture and you're legit, I think that builds trust. And I think both those guys do believe that the coaching staff does have their best interest at heart, even if they got passed by last year and other guys got the starting jobs. They probably believe they did have a fair chance to compete. I think they also believe they have a fair chance to compete this year, and I think they also stayed, Tyler, because they saw opportunity to start.
Yeah, definitely so. And again, when you go from playing as much as they both did in year number 1 as true freshmen, which was a learning opportunity for both of them to barely seeing the field last year. Mm-hmm. And again, it was Tree that we were kind of wondering, or it was it Tro? They were kind of wondering about the not the eligibility, but the redshirting and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So in a lot of cases, you see those guys transfer because, I took a step back. I'm lower on the depth chart. I want to go somewhere else where I think I can make an impact, or go somewhere else where I think it's going to give me the right amount of money for what I think my talent level is. And they didn't. You got to commend them that. The entire team, for the most part, stayed intact, save for a few of those healthy transfers, quote unquote. And again, those two guys could find themselves as being starting offensive linemen this year.
Now, again, if neither one of them start this year, then that's a different conversation when you go into the offseason. But yeah, I think what Coach Teasley's saying about, you build this relationship and this trust, this rapport, and plus these guys see opportunity here to possibly start. Now's the disagree part. Whenever I hear this, well, the guy stayed, well, it shows their character. Okay, then what do you say about the character of Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight and Spencer Rattler?
It's the classic case of the guys that leave us, we didn't want them anyway. And the guys that came in, they made the right choice.
I'm going to say this now. You're not going to find bigger character guys than, I'll just stick with last year, than Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight.
Sure.
Demetrius Knight transferred twice. And all they do was talk about the great character and the leadership of Demetrius Knight. Kyle Kennard's character, all they did was they were excited about the character and the professionalism of Kyle Kennard. So please don't go to character. I just don't do it, because there are guys that transfer portal that are scumbag dudes. They just want to go from place to place to get bags.
Sure.
Or they don't have the and I'll use a word my uncle used to use, gumption. He used gumption to stay and stick things out.
Yeah.
But there's also guys who transfer for other reasons who have great character and they're great leaders. So whenever I hear that, it's just like, stop.
I think that's almost kind of a default answer in a lot of ways when you're, because look, you can, if I ask you about any player, you can work character in there somewhere. I feel like that's almost become a buzzword at this point.
But I just think it is disrespectful to people who transfer.
Sure.
You're putting them in a bucket of they don't have great character. Well, no, because two of your biggest character players on this team last year were transfer portal guys.
Yeah, well, and God, how many transfer portal guys are on the offensive line right now?
Yeah, so if you're like really, if you're sitting there like, that's a great point. If you're Nick Sharp, you're like, well, what's that about my character?
Stanley, was
Coach?
my character bad, Coach? What's the deal?
You guys took me in.
I think if he gave him a second to think about that, he probably wouldn't use that word again. I think it's just a crutch that a lot of coaches fall back on anytime you ask them about a player. Oh, character and attitude and all this kind of stuff. Like,
I won't disagree.
I don't think there's a lot of value behind that word at this point.
But all I hear about is how words matter.
Yeah.
So if you're going down that path where you got great character because you didn't transfer, then you got guys on your team that did transfer. What are you saying? You got to throw that word out of your spiel.
Sure.
When it comes to this whole transferring thing. Football, and a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Let's get Coach Robertson in here. Coaching the defensive line. He's got a lot of folks to replace, too. Let's get cut 10 from Coach Robertson about replacing so many guys from the D-line room.
A lot different. Knowing that, you lost, the guys that we lost, and you had 2 years with them. And but it's good. It's part of football. Guys come here, they leave, they come and leave. So it's been different. We miss Tonka, we miss TJ, we miss Boogie, but it's a challenge getting these guys to buy into what we, coming from a different school. So just to buy into our terminology and what we're doing.
Well, that's the thing, because you think about it for a minute. First of all, it felt like Boogie and Tonka were around for about 10 years.
Yeah, it felt that way.
Yeah. And, when you have new guys come in, those guys are the grizzled vets, right? And they can kind of set the tone and set the culture and set things of that nature. Now you don't have those guys.
Yeah, I mean, your room, Nick Barrett has been around since, 1847, it seems like.
Here since I've been here.
And, he essentially redshirted last year because you already had so much depth. Like, him not being out there a lot didn't really end up hurting you all that much.
Nick Barrett was redshirted for this year. Make no mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, the plan was, because we were looking at the roster last year saying, this is great, but you've got a lot of work to do in the offseason because all these guys are about to go pro. And you also had the confidence of knowing that you had 4 NFL caliber guys in your D-line room that you're having to replace now.
Halftime show, a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Little NFL quarterback talk. Somebody's going to get paid again. And why don't the Vikings just make J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback and be done with it? There's got to be a reason. Halftime show next on the game. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. All right, so Shane Beamer's presser, typically we carry it here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. But there was a little technical difficulties. They are going to repost it ASAP, and then we'll get it out for you can hear it. But in the meantime, we are getting updates of what Shane's talking about, and we'll get to that in a second. First, Sterling Lucas, Tyler, was talking about Jaylen Brown, edge rusher through the transfer portal from Missouri. And here's Sterling Lucas talking about Brown in his first spring practice with the team.
Yeah, just his position flexibility, man. I think he's about 270. That's kind of, right now I think he might be the biggest guy. He is the biggest guy in the room as far as weight. Just position flexibility, him being able to play on the edge and, being able to do some things interior-wise from a pass rush standpoint, and really excited about Jaylen.
All right, well, the reason we played that cut, first of all, he's a guy that South Carolina hopes can pop.
Sure.
Didn't play a lot at Missouri, 4-star recruit coming out of high school, a lot of athletic upside, just hasn't done it on the field, right?
Right.
Well, he won't do it on the field the rest of the spring. Jaylen Brown and offensive guard Nick Sharp, transferred in from Wake Forest, are expected to miss the rest of the spring after suffering injuries during the first couple weeks of practice. A quote from Shane: the only two new additions to the injury report, unfortunately, are Nick Sharp on the offensive line and Jaylen Brown on the defensive line. Disappointing because that's two positions we really need to stay healthy at. Both those guys suffered injuries last week, and they'll miss the rest of the spring, unfortunately. Beamer also said that's just something that they want to get ahead of right now and get those guys ready for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when you're talking about those two groups being as wide open as they are, you want all hands on deck and, everybody giving their best option to see who the starters and guys rotating into those respective spots are going to be. And it's tough that you're going to be down to those guys now.
So that's the latest. Jaylen Brown, edge player, and Nick Sharp, offensive guard, both came in through the portal. Both are expected to compete for either starting jobs or reps. We'll miss the rest of the spring. That doesn't mean a lot. You like to have them, but the important thing is get them ready for fall, for summer camp.
Right.
That's the important thing. And we'll, like I say, get you more updates as we get them from the press conference, and we will re-rack it as soon as we can get our hands on it so you can hear Shane here on 107.5 The Game. All right, so why don't the Minnesota Vikings want to just give J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback job? This has been running through my head.
Well, because he clearly doesn't want to be named the starting quarterback.
Well, he wants to earn it.
Wants to earn it.
Yeah, I mean, he's happy they didn't name him
Don't just give it to me. I want you to set it at the top of the highest mountain so I can climb up there and earn it.
Gee, Dad, thanks for the bike for Christmas. But I don't want you to give me anything. I want to earn it. It is. You want to talk about cliches we were talking about earlier?
Sure.
Here's can I just translate J.J. McCarthy real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it really sucks you didn't give me the job, even though I'm the first-round pick, and you moved out the guy that started last year. You won't name me starter. But what I have to do to sound like a leader and a captain and a great dude is give you this stupid cliche.
Yeah, that truth serum. Love to have some of that.
Love to drop the Falker family truth serum on J.J. McCarthy.
JJ, what do you really think? What do you really feel?
Yeah, I mean, because it's such a load of fertilizer, and you have to say it because you want to sound like a leader.
And yeah, you're a second-year guy. You're not going to go out there and throw anybody under the bus.
Exactly.
Especially not the coach.
But if you're the Vikings, look, this whole weird dance with Aaron Rodgers, and this is not naming McCarthy your starter and saying there's competition everywhere and all that other mumbo-jumbo. Look, you picked this guy in the first round. He was a top 10 pick. You selected him to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, and there was all indication until he got hurt in the preseason that he was the starting quarterback.
Exactly.
Sam Darnold was just a body there in case he got hurt, which he did, unfortunately, and obviously went out there and had a really, really good season. But it was J.J. McCarthy's team, all things considered, heading into the season.
To me, it's just simple. If he's your guy, he's going to be your guy. Forget Aaron Rodgers. Forget Mr. Rodgers. Forget it. J.J. McCarthy's our starting quarterback. Boom. And then you go get a veteran who has started before, who's on the backside of his career, who'd be happy to hold your clipboard and take your money. And you keep that guy around in case J.J. McCarthy gets hurt.
Now, let's not disrespect Boise State legend Brett Rypien, who's the only other quarterback on the roster right now.
Like I said, go out and get you a veteran quarterback who is on the backside of his career, who's happy to be a backup. I just don't get it, man. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't. Look, do I think J.J. McCarthy's a starting quarterback of the Vikings opening Sunday? Yes, I do. But just do it. Show your support.
Correction. Forgot. Daniel Jones is there. Daniel Jones is the no, he's with
No, he's gone.
Indy now.
Yeah, he's
that's
gone.
right. He was with the Vikings last year, back half last year.
Now
That's
I'll say
right.
this: if you didn't believe in J.J. McCarthy and you didn't want to give Sam Darnold an ungodly amount of money on a franchise tag, I would have signed Daniel Jones on a cheapy deal and say, okay, we'll have quote unquote competition.
Mm-hmm.
And if J.J. McCarthy can't beat out Daniel Jones, we got issues.
Which is exactly what they're facing in Indianapolis right now.
What does that say?
If you can't beat out Daniel Jones, we got a problem.
You got a problem. All right, so I just don't get it. Again, Minnesota, a lot of talent on that football team on the offensive side of the ball.
Sure. Are you weary that he's coming back from an injury and you want to be careful? I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know why you wouldn't just say it, because we all know it.
Yeah, that's my thing with it. Just ride with it. He's the starter, and let's roll and be done with it. Hey, look, Kevin O'Connell's been a really good head coach and is excellent with quarterbacks, right? So he knows what's up. But I just think this is just announce it.
Give him the what Beamer did last year. He's the starter coming out of spring. And if you see something in the summer that concerns you, okay, things change.
Ready?
But for now, he's your starter.
He's the starter going into the draft.
Yeah,
Just say something.
perfect.
Say
exactly.
something.
And again, if there's something between now and then where you're worried or you don't like what you see, then you address that. But for now, he is our starter for now.
Right.
How about that? For today, as you're asking this question, he is the starter of the Minnesota Vikings. And that can change if they need it to. But for now, he's the guy.
And, again, show your support to him, build his confidence, let him sit by the goalpost with his legs crossed, burning incense and playing Yanni music in his headphones, knowing he's the starter.
Sure.
Why not? Anyway, all right, football, the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Lamar Jackson's contract is going to get renegotiated. John Harbaugh talked about this yesterday at the owners' meetings. And they have to. They have to. And Lamar will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL because it'll be his turn. And we'll see the ungodly amount of money that's going to be thrown around because that's what quarterbacks get in the NFL. But here's why you do it. You ready for this? Do you know if you do not redo that contract before going into next year, which is 2026, Lamar Jackson's cap hit's going to be over $74 million.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go into a season with your quarterback making over $74 million.
Right.
You just can't do it. And that's the real reason you have to handle this.
Sure.
Because this is the dance you do. You have to have a franchise quarterback, right? But
Yep.
you know when you have a franchise quarterback, you got to pay him.
Yes.
The 49ers are going through this dance with Brock Purdy. Again, Brock Purdy is not going to get Lamar Jackson money. We've been talking about this. It's going to be interesting to see what the cutoff line is for the 49ers with Brock Purdy. It's going to be very interesting. Halftime show, we had Yap Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll continue giving you updates from the Shane Beamer presser that's going on. We can't carry it. Sorry, there was technical difficulties over at the football complex, but we will get you all the info as soon as we can. Tonight, baseball, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch, a must-win. Yes, we're saying this. Must-win for South Carolina against Presbyterian. So that is coming up tonight. Up next, what are the owners going to do about the tush push? There is word coming out of the owners' meetings. This is so ridiculous and asinine, and we'll talk about it next here on the halftime show with Tyler Head and Terry Ford on the game. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. Tyler Head, Terry Ford hanging out with you. Dave said he's on his way back now. Hopefully he brought us some like toothbrushes, some floss, some toothpaste. You know they give you that stuff when you leave the dentist's office?
They're supposed to, little goodie bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. Whatever Dave brings back, it's ours.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to be able to talk either, I imagine.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
Scary sick.
Well, you know, we do enjoy when he chimes in the greatest day in the history of the world.
We're going to talk about that today, which was probably one. I think that's one of Dave's 5 funniest moments in my 3.5 years here. That was hilarious.
There was ever a moment to describe Dave perfectly, that might have been it.
That was such a Dave moment. The ultimate Dave moment.
Because when he said it, I sat for a second. I'm like, okay, I think we said that. Okay, I looked at each other.
Over that.
I was waiting on you to confirm. You're like, Dave, we just said that. Like
talked about that
3
Dave.
minutes ago.
Okay. If you're wondering what we're talking about, we'll do this really quick, then we'll get to football. So Dave, yes, we're doing the greatest day in the history of the world, and it was March 31st, and on that day, Ken Norton Jr. upset Muhammad Ali in a heavyweight bout and broke Ali's jaw. I believe the fight was in San Diego. And it wasn't for, it was only for, the North American Heavyweight Championship or whatever it was.
Yep.
And then we talked about how they had a rematch years later at Yankee Stadium, and that was a great fight, too. Ali won by decision over Norton, and it was controversial. So we did that. We did about, 3 or 4 more things, and they were wrapping up Greatest Day in the History of the World, and then Dave pops on and goes, forgot one. What, Dave? Ken Norton Jr. beat Muhammad Ali on this day. Yeah, we just talked about it, Dave. Oh, you talk about he broke his jaw? Yeah, Dave.
Got that too.
Got the whole thing, Dave. You talk about they had a rematch? Yeah, Dave, we got that too.
I think he was reading from the same website as you.
Okay. He remember he goes, sure y'all did that? Yeah, Dave, we're sure. Okay.
This is why people need to meet Dave.
It was so Dave. So Dave. All right. The Beamer presser went on today. Like I said, we've been trying to keep you up to date that there was a technical issue across the street at South Carolina where they couldn't stream the presser like they typically do, and then we air it. So we will, once they upload the presser, we will get it to you as soon as we can. Some of the notes from the presser. Jack Veltri was talking about how Shane said that Vakari Swain will be back with the team sooner than later.
Okay.
But he's still with the team.
Yeah. Hey, it was never kicked off.
No.
It was just, hey, you got an issue and you're not going to practice until you get it straightened out.
And again, Shane, now I'm looking at some of the tweets from Jordan Kay at the state, said obviously Shane's a big fan of the scrimmaging for South Carolina and Colorado, and Shane once again brought up the fact that he'd love to have a preseason game against another team.
Yep.
Also, because remember the spring game will be here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, will originate the radio broadcast.
Yep, no TV.
But there's no TV. Shane said he thinks it will be more impactful from a recruiting standpoint to produce a show that brings fans, recruits into the program rather than airing the spring game.
Maybe.
I feel like this. Okay, we're playing the spring game because we want fans to be able to come to the game.
Sure.
Because we care about that.
Sure.
But we also care about limiting access if we can.
Yes, that's kind of the old sleight of hand when you're watching what's happening over here, something else happening over here. Like, yes, we're going to have a spring game, but we are going to make sure that we can limit the eyes on it in terms of people not in Columbia when it's happening.
Exactly. So I am going to give you the spring game, which, again, I'm all for. Thank you, Shane.
Sure.
So I'm like this. I got no problem with give and take. I mean, would it be great to be able to sit and watch it? Sure. If you wanted to see it but you couldn't go, yeah, it'd be great to watch it on TV. But the idea that Shane isn't following goofy Matt Rule down the CIA espionage rabbit hole, I give Shane a ton of props for having the spring game.
Sure.
So, but I get you also want to limit those miscreants.
I think it'd be one of those things that if you, again, going back to truth serum, if told a lot of coaches and asked them to be truthful about it, they're like, Matt Rule wasn't completely wrong about everything that he said. Again, you don't go the extreme of necessarily canceling your spring game, but, we can take a few eyeballs off of it nationally that maybe skimming over it for tape, not a bad thing.
I think all these coaches today want to limit as much access as possible, right?
Sure. And again, when you're doing this 30-minute TV show, guess who can control what's seen in that?
Who controls the narrative?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, don't shoot that. Don't shoot that. The kicker, he's over there. Go shoot him.
Oh, we want to edit that.
Yeah.
And edit that.
Hey, that's a play we're working on. Don't show that.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, Jordan Kay, in case you missed it, as reporting, and others are reporting it as well, offensive lineman Nick Sharp and defensive lineman Jaylen Brown both coming in through the transfer portal. Sharp from Wake, Brown from Missouri will miss the rest of the spring because they want to kind of heal up some injuries that they got early in spring practices. So that's where some of the updates are. And like I said, we will get you the full presser as soon as we can get our hands on it once it's uploaded by South Carolina. Okay. At the owners' meetings, the tush push, the vote for the tush push, outlawing it or not, has been tabled. There shouldn't be a vote at all because this is ridiculous, asinine, stupid, hypocritical, and cowardly. Did I cover it all?
But safety, Terry.
Yes, it's safety. You know, it is safety. I'm glad you brought up safety, Tyler.
Well, that was the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, like Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Bills. Ready? Quote, we're always going to act in a way that's best for the health and safety of our players.
Are you? Are you really?
Are you? Because you know what? In Buffalo, what surface do they use?
Is it grass?
Nope.
No, turf? Yeah.
Okay, so we care about safety. It's all
Sure.
about safety. Everything's about safety, right?
Yep.
Players overwhelmingly prefer to play on natural grass, according to a study. 92% of players would rather play on natural grass than turf. Remember that number, 92%.
Yep.
Tyler.
Yep.
Okay? Keep that in your head.
Sure.
Do you know that over half of the stadiums in the NFL are not natural grass?
Sounds about right.
Care deeply about your player's safety. And by the way, it is proven in studies 20% more injuries happen on turf than grass. So, 92% of your players rather play on grass. There are studies that show that 20% more injuries happen on turf than grass. So what's the NFL doing? Over half the stadiums are still turf.
Yep.
You care a lot about your safety, don't you? How about that 18th game? You're putting your guys in harm's way for another game.
Sure. What about the fact that every team in the league has to play a Thursday night game right after playing on Sunday?
And by the way, did you hear what they did, too, with that? Now the
flexing, yeah.
The flexing has gone from 28 days to 21. That's good for safety, right?
Sure. That's incredible for safety.
You hypocritical bleeps. Here's the problem. You can't stop the play.
No, you can't.
So because you can't stop, instead of learning how to stop it, or you know what, why don't you run it yourself? What you're doing is you want to get the play outlawed because you can't stop it.
That's the thing for me, and this goes back to the torpedo bat discussion in baseball. Nothing illegal is being done here. You just found a way to reinvent the wheel. You're working within the parameters of the rules that already exist. You found a way to do this thing effectively that nobody can stop. And again, the Eagles have perfected it.
Yep.
The Bills are pretty good at it. But it's not like every team in the league is doing this. The Packers aren't doing it. The Broncos aren't doing it. Like, it's not this cheat code that every single team can use. Some teams have perfected it, and you got to tip your hat to ingenuity for that.
Yes, I get so sick of this now. It's like instead of grinding hard to work to fix it, to stop it, be able to stop it as a team, or maybe do something yourself. If your quarterback can't do it, like the Ravens use Mark Andrews, their tight end. Instead of all that, why don't we just have everybody voted out?
Yeah,
that's what we'll do. We'll vote it out. Why don't you vote out the forward pass, too, because some of your teams can't stop that.
Yeah, well, then you're having to draw a line in the sand of, okay, what is a tush push? Define what the tush push is. Does that mean if I'm behind somebody in the pile at the line of scrimmage, I can't touch him if he's got the ball? Like, well, where are we drawing the line here?
Or are you going to, what you can do, you can outlaw assisting a player, a ball carrier, by pushing or pulling or grabbing them. That used to be a rule, but it's not anymore. So if you really want to be a coward, go the back door and say we're going to put the rule back in place that was around years and years ago that you can't assist a ball carrier by pulling them or pushing them down the field.
Doesn't that seem like it'd be kind of a safety problem?
But the NFL cares deeply about player safety.
Exactly. Yeah. So why would they reinstitute a rule or take away a rule that could have actually benefited safety? I don't know.
Because they're all about safety. They're all about one thing.
Money.
Money. That's all they care about.
Why are they going to an 18th game? Money.
Thursday night game. How much money is Amazon giving them?
A gazillion money.
Yes. It's all money, man.
Gazillion to
all
torture Al Michaels for 3 hours every Thursday.
Al held it in gear better this year than the year before.
What's worse for him, watching Thursday Night Football or eating broccoli? He might actually eat broccoli instead of calling a game.
Hey, we have Carolina Calls on Wednesday with Coach Paul Maneri at 6 p.m. here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. You can hear that. And speaking of that, Carolina baseball 6:15 pregame tonight versus Presbyterian on the Game in Columbia and the Game in Myrtle Beach as well. Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100 next here on the halftime show on the Game. Grab our Firehouse Sub text the hour here on the halftime show, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
All right. Our guy Orlando Bruce says when Captain Dave comes back from the dentist, will he be able to speak clearly? If he's numbed up to Novocaine, inquiring minds want to know.
I talk like that.
Well-
Talk like that.
It's one of those things like you can't feel side of your face, or it feels really numb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, talk like that.
You feel like your lip is like 20 pounds.
Or like your lips hanging to the ground.
Yeah.
Like you got like an inner tube for a lip.
Yeah,
Might be fun to hear him talk.
sure.
See what he can do.
I think is he? No, it's not him. Thought he was coming in. Be like, Dave, hop on the mic.
How about him like, just tell us how it went, Dave.
Dave, you're drooling. Careful.
Yeah, well, Dave drools a lot, but not just for this purpose.
Yeah,
There's a lot of other drooling with Dave.
we'll leave it at that.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Bruce, we always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for the text. 803-404-6100. All right, Shane Beamer, we will get that. It will get, we're going to get to it in the 2 o'clock hour, we believe. We'll be able to pop that up there so you can hear about 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have the Shane Beamer presser in the 2 o'clock hour that didn't air at 12:30 live like it typically does because of some technical issues at South Carolina over at the football complex. So we all get what we get, we'll get it on the 2 o'clock hour. That's coming up. So be ready for that as well. All right, so as we continue to yap football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game, there's some football headlines. Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if you saw this. Aaron Rodgers was throwing with DK Metcalf.
I did see this out at UCLA.
And Art Rooney has said that he's hearing Rodgers to Pittsburgh is headed in their direction. We keep getting positive sort of signals about it. So, yeah, we feel pretty good about it at this point. Again, I get it. You need a quarterback. You don't have one. Mason Rudolph, please. Anybody else in that quarterback room, please. I'd rather go get Terry Bradshaw off the desk at Fox and say, hey, go quarterback in your suit than Mason Rudolph. You're not having Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback. You're just not. And I understand the desperation in Pittsburgh. I get it. But this Aaron Rodgers stuff
It's gone on too long.
yeah, this is like, look, dude, Aaron Rodgers, understand who you are now. Do you want to finish up your career playing for a team that has a chance to go to the playoffs? An organization that, even though they have been mediocre the last so many years, it's still one of the best organizations in football from the infrastructure of ownership down.
Sure.
You want to go play there and help them maybe win a couple of extra games so they can be a playoff team? If you want to do that and you want to get the stink of the Jets off of you and go play for real folks who know what they're doing, then go to Pittsburgh. Go.
Yeah.
Go. If you really care about winning and care about playing football again, then go to Pittsburgh. It's that simple.
Yeah, and look, they're not going to get in their hands and knees and beg you. If you're waiting on that, sorry, it's not going to happen.
Well, I heard somebody today say he's just going to wait till, training camp starts. Well, if I'm Pittsburgh, I need a quarterback. I can't wait till you feel like showing up, bro.
We got a draft coming up. We got things to figure out before then.
I mean, maybe you don't understand, man. We got in the playoffs last year and got curb stomped by our rival. We don't like that. We want to get back to being the Steelers again. We want to be able to say the standard's a standard, not have people laugh at us behind our back.
Sure, and again, the ego of Aaron Rodgers is its own story in and of itself, and it seems like, and we talked about the quotes from some of the players, nobody wants to deal with that. Man, either commit or don't. If you want to be a Steeler, great. If you don't, we're not chasing after you. Just make up your mind. Don't, because again, this has been going on for weeks.
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, those guys signed with the Giants last week.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you only really got one viable option left here. So if you're going to do it, do it. Or retire. Just do something.
Or go sit in your hut.
Yeah.
Just come on, man.
Again, whatever he's not going to go back to another Super Bowl. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Whatever you're doing now is not going to tarnish your legacy or really add to it, quite frankly. You're just rounding out your career for however much longer you want to play. If you want to keep going, fine. If you don't, retire. Nobody cares.
Exactly. And by the way, did you see this thing where Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, said this survey that said the Jets get an F as an organization was bogus?
Really? Weird. Why weird he'd say that, right?
Yeah, I wonder why anybody would think the Jets organization stinks. Why?
Well, it's his teenage kids running it.
Yeah, that's the problem. If the Jets would have got an A, do you think you would have said it was bogus?
Probably not.
Yeah. An F is a good grade for the Jets. That's higher than I would give them.
Yeah, they had to grade that one on a curve.
Yeah,
What's worse than an F?
exactly. The Jets. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour, like always, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Up next, we're going to fire up Shane Beamer's presser. Again, we usually carry it live at 12:30. There was technical difficulties in South Carolina. We couldn't get it going, but we are going. They have now, thank you, South Carolina, for getting it together. They have posted and uploaded it, and we are going to fire it up for you in about 5 minutes here on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head here on The Game. Halftime show. He's Tyler Head. I'm Terry Ford. We're rolling till 3 here on the game. Shane Beamer presser here in just a second. First, got a little breaking news. We've had breaking news on this show, man. What's up with that?
Well, it's middle of the day. That's kind of when a lot of news happens. Now, I think we kind of maybe foresaw this coming, but seeing it official is a little surprising.
This is not a shock. There was some smoke about this earlier today.
The process of it is almost kind of funny, right?
Meechie Johnson. You remember Meechie?
I do.
Started Ohio State, transferred to South Carolina, then after going to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, decided to go back to Ohio State to finish up for the hometown school. Well, Meechie, it just didn't go well for Meechie. 10 games. He was playing about 29 minutes a game, but he struggled. 35% from the floor, 35% from three is pretty good, but 50% from the line. Averaged 9 points a game, couple boards, couple of assists, couple turnovers. Meechie left the team after 10 games.
Yep.
Putting in for a waiver because he just wanted to deal with some stuff for himself. So
Sure.
what is it called? A mental health waiver, I think it's what they call it.
Yeah, I guess.
And so if Meechie gets this, guess where he's going to play next year?
South Carolina.
Coming back, baby.
I know the portal's only been around for about 7 years. I don't think I know of anybody that went to school A, transferred to school B, transferred back to school A, only to transfer back to school B again.
This has got to be a record. It's got to be a record. Look, we know Meechie. Meechie's not a point guard. Meechie played when Meechie played the 2 years ago. That's really where he needs to play. He's not a point guard.
He's inconsistent.
Yes, he's very inconsistent as a point guard.
When he's on,
yeah,
man, he's on.
He offensively is inconsistent in general. When Meechie's hot, Meechie can make shots from all over the bill. Hell, Meechie makes shots from the parking lot.
Sure.
But when Meechie's cold,
He's going to still try to go from the parking lot.
yeah, but he's going to be cold.
He's going to be cold.
You still on this basketball team. Look, this is good to have Meechie back because he plays defense. He brought a nice little edge to this basketball team 2 years ago. Very passionate guy.
He's a good team guy.
He is a good team guy, but he's inconsistent on the offensive end of the court, to be fair. This is not to take shots away from Trayson Eaglestaff. That's your go-to guy. That will be your scorer, your number one option.
Yes.
You know, in a perfect world, Meechie's your third or fourth option, just to be fair because of his inconsistencies. Trayson Eaglestaff is a legit scorer, a legit number one option. Now, again, does he have to translate his game from North Dakota to the SEC? Sure. Can he do it? Yeah, he can do it. But bringing in Meechie, again, you bring in a guy that was part of an excellent season 2 years ago, and Meechie brings some positives and some great intangibles. But the one thing with Meechie is, again, offensively, Meechie's hot and cold.
Now, if we can just find Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack,
Yes,
and we'll have the band back together.
Love to have Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack back.
We can find some reason for them to get more eligibility. That'd be great.
Maybe there's a waiver somewhere.
Maybe.
But the news is, Meechie, and look, would Meechie have been an improvement on last year's team?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
Not even a question. So Meechie Johnson is back. South Carolina, On 3 is reporting that, I believe.
Yes.
All right, let's get to Shane Beamer's presser. Again, originally should have aired at 12:30. Technical issues over at South Carolina meant they couldn't air it live, but they have uploaded the presser. So here is Shane Beamer from earlier today. Spring practice press conference number 2, right here on 107.5 The Game.
Some of you guys that are double teaming with us and women's basketball, looks like David and Lulu and others are strictly on the women's basketball beat right now as well. We'll remember that come football season for sure. But glad to have you guys here today as well, and appreciate everyone coming out. Just finished up practice 6 today. Off to a good start, without a doubt. Before I get into football, certainly what a great weekend around Gamecock Athletics. Congrats to our equestrian team on winning the SEC championship last weekend. Awesome for those ladies. Congrats to Coach Staley on another Final Four, and best of luck to them in Tampa this weekend. Hope to bring back another national championship to Columbia. And then awesome weekend by our softball team down in Baton Rouge, winning 2 games on Sunday and winning that series in dramatic fashion also. So really happy for them. A lot of great things going on with our athletic department, no question about it. While that was going on, as many of you know, we had our high school coaches clinic last weekend. So thanks again to all the high school coaches that were here for that. It was an all-time record here for attendance at our high school coaches clinic. Awesome speakers, so appreciative of Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, Coach Chennisberry, the head coach at South Carolina State, John Fossil, the special teams coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, and Hall of Fame coach Mac Brown coming and speaking at our clinic. Means a lot that all those guys took time to come here and visit with us. We had coaches from all over the country that were at our clinic, and also had 7 coaches from Canada that came down as well. So appreciate those guys, and so many of those coaches came up to me or texted me afterwards to tell me that it's the best clinic they've ever been to in all of their years of coaching. So makes me proud to hear that, and it's because of the people we have here in this program. And then want to make sure everyone knows we've got our Ladies' Day coming up next weekend, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday is our Ladies Football Day. That'll be in conjunction with our spring practice next weekend as well. So you can still sign up for that. That's always a fun day. So any of you ladies in the back that would like to participate, we'd love to have you. And you can find out information, I believe, on our football website, hopefully as well. But that's next weekend. As I said, practice 6 was today. Had a good week last week. A lot of situational work. Got into third down situations last week. Today we introduced short yardage goal line. Tomorrow or Thursday we'll get into some red zone work, and then Saturday we'll have our first scrimmage of the spring over in the stadium as well, and then all that leading up to the spring game here in a couple weeks as well. But love the way the group's working. Love the mentality that they've had since January. They're a fun group to be around, and got a lot of work to do, as you guys can imagine. A lot of young faces out there that are going through spring practice for the very first time, but have no complaints about the work ethic and the progress that we're making, and just keep just trying to continue to stack days and get better and better. So with that, open the floor up. Who gets the honor? Okay, Hale deserves that.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, you do.
With Vicari, what are the timelines for him to get back in good standing academically and with the team as well?
Yeah, he's in great standing with the team right now. He's taking care of some academic responsibilities and expecting back sooner than later, and nothing that will deter him from being able to play this season.
From practice 1 to now, it's your 6th practice, you said. Is there any specific player that have you seen vast improvement from so far?
I wouldn't say vast improvement. You know, I could go through every position and talk about guys that, you know, you hope everyone's improving throughout the spring. To be able to name one, not necessarily, but I'm pleased with the progress that, you know, that all of our guys are making, whether it be returning players that have played a lot of football for us, that are returning starters, seeing them make improvement and steps in their game to take their game to the next level. You're seeing signs of that. Transfers that came in that had to understand the first couple practices how we practice around here, because as a lot of them have told me, it's different than where they came from. So those guys getting acclimated to that and getting better, the transfers, and then the freshmen that just got here, that they go out to the first practice, second practice, and their minds are blown just because there's so much going on. The speed, the intensity, the physicality, the mental stuff that's coming at you, trying to learn offense, defense, and special team schemes, but seeing those guys have everything, you know, slow down for them. So everyone, how about that as well? But no, I'm pleased with the progress of the group. We got a long way to go, but you see flashes of guys each and every day. And we talked about it in our team meeting this morning that, you know, from a X's and O's standpoint, it should start to slow down for a little bit now, because the first week of practice, you're installing your first and second down, like base stuff, and that's a lot. And then last week, you get into all your third down packages, and that's a lot, offense and defense. And then this week, we're getting into some red zone stuff, that certain calls defensively and offensively that we would only call down in the red zone as you get closer to the goal line. But after you kind of get through this week, there's not much more, so it should start to slow down and see guys make even bigger, you know, jumps from an improvement standpoint.
Going back
couple months. What were the conversations like with the families of Jordan Gidron and Donovan Murph to get those guys to reclassify? And what is it about them that makes you feel comfortable of, hey, come in a year early and we think you can contribute?
Yeah, there was zero from us trying to get them to do anything. That's 100% the truth. They approached us about it, and probably midway through the season, Jordan, I think Murph was around the Ole Miss game. I think he told you that, or somebody on the day that he signed. But right around the same time, I think they saw what we were doing on the field and were ready to be a part of it. And the conversations were them coming to us to see if this is something that they could do and if we would be open to them doing it. And our answer was absolutely. We would love for you to, but there's no pressure. I want you to enjoy being in high school and be a high school, get to enjoy your senior year and things like that as well. But they were adamant this is what they wanted to do. They were very close with the people in this recruiting class. They were very close with the people on our team already, and they were eager to get here. And that's a tough thing to do, so I wouldn't be maybe as open to it with others as I was them, and it's because of their maturity. Like those two young guys, Jordan and Donovan both, they're extremely mature, and they've both got great families as well. They've got a great upbringing, direction at home, very, 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 mature kids. Jordan, to be, you got to remind yourself that he's a junior in high school, still going through spring practice with an SEC football team, but he's got all A's right now in school. He hasn't had a single B on any, we get progress reports on our players every week. He hasn't had a B the entire semester. Got all A's in everything that he's doing. Hasn't been on a list, meaning late for something in this building or doing something wrong. He's been fantastic because he's a mature kid and he's very driven and has a great family. Murph is the same way. Awesome family, very driven. You go to his high school, you could sit there and talk to him. He's a young guy, but he's like a wise old soul. You could talk to him like he's a 30-year-old man. And I can't remember if I told you guys this, but even the day that he announced at the All-Star game in January, I believe is what it was, that he was coming to South Carolina. I wasn't in a good place because that was about 2 days after the bowl game, and was still not in a good place. And I'll never forget, after the bowl game, my family and I, got out of town, and we were sitting on a beach for about 2 days before I came back, and my phone rang on, I think it was a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever day the All-Star game was, whatever day it was, called me that morning. It was Murph. And immediately when a guy calls, now he's already signed, but when he calls me the morning of an All-Star game, you're worried. And he was just calling to thank me for the opportunity to come play football at South Carolina, and I told him on the phone that day, I'm like, you know what, not many guys would do that. The fact that you're getting ready to go on national television, playing an All-Star game, and you took the time to just call and thank me for this opportunity, one, cheers me up because I'm in a pretty crappy mood right now, but two, gives me great hope for this freshman class and the future of our program as well, because we got great young men in our program, and those two guys are right at the top.
You mentioned a handful of guys before spring practice began that were going to be out for various amounts of time. Have any of those guys been able to come back and practice, and is there anyone else who's joined that injury list, so to speak?
I forget who I told you at the beginning that we're going to be limited. Right now, everybody's out there pretty much going at it. Hale that wasn't at the beginning, except Michael Smith is not back out and won't be. Brubaker is not back out and won't be. Caleb Williams is not back out and won't be through the end of spring. I think that's it right now. Everybody else is practicing. And then the only two new additions, unfortunately, are Nick Sharp on the offensive line and Jaylen Brown on the defensive line. Disappointing because that's two positions that we really need to stay healthy at. But both those two guys suffered injuries last week, and they'll miss the rest of spring, unfortunately.
What is going on behind Lenoris at quarterback?
Great competition is what's going on behind Lenoris at quarterback. Dante Reno obviously has been here, and it's his second year in the program. Cutter Woods just got here. Aaron Nolan just got here. And Jimmy Francis, it's his second year in the program, so we're very young at that position, obviously, including Lenoris. I mean, it's only his, third year in the program. We don't have a number 2 quarterback right now. I think, a lot of you guys are eager to anoint certain people as the backup, and we're all about competition, here as well. So there's great competition. Coach Shula is doing a great job of mixing up the reps of who gets work with that group, and sometimes it's Cutter, sometimes it's Air, sometimes it's Dante, and they've all flashed. I think they've all shown great improvement since the beginning of spring practice, and there's no question Dante's improved since last year. There's no question that Air is getting more and more comfortable. We did a little drive out there today where we didn't script anything, Phil. We just put the ball down and just basically played football like a game, and Air led his series. I mean, he led the offense on I was hoping it was going to be about a 4, 5, 6 play drive, but it ended up being a 19 play drive that he took the team down the field. But I'm really excited about Cutter Woods. You guys that followed him in high school know that he's a winner. It's just what he did in high school and comes from a great program up there at Westside with Coach Lane. So I really like the group. We're very young, but there's really good competition going on behind Lenoris right now for sure.
Kind of sticking with that quarterback position, Luke Doty's been wearing the green quarterback.
Luke, too. I'm sorry. Luke's working at quarterback also. I'm an idiot, Phil. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Luke is in there also. So Luke's a guy that, you talk about just can do a lot. Luke is still wearing the green jersey, playing some quarterback. Luke's going through special teams. Luke knows what to do at receiver, so throw Luke in that quarterback equation as well. Sorry, Luke. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add to that, is that just kind of an experience factor with him being that the room's still kind of young, just kind of adding him having that experience playing the position?
Yeah, absolutely. Year one, back in 2021, my first year as a head coach, you guys that were here, Luke was our starting quarterback going into the season and coming out of spring practice. So he's got that experience. It's a great resource to have in that room for those other quarterbacks, Lenoris included, because he has played. You feel confident with him being in the game, and he's just such a good football player and good athlete. When we went back and we did all of our testing at the end of the winter, we did our own version of the NFL Combine, and when we did all that testing, if you took Luke's numbers and you put them strictly in the wide receiver room, he'd be pretty much top 3 in every testing measurable at the receiver position: speed, vertical jump, agility, all that as well. So, we talked about it as a staff that, look, this guy can help us, and we need to find a way where he can help us and put him in that position. So he's doing a little bit of everything. So don't be shocked if you see him at quarterback this upcoming season, receiver, playing special teams. He's just he makes our team better on and off the field.
Shane, with Xavion Hardy, how is that transition? I know it's only spring practice, but how has that transition gone for him so far from what you've seen from JUCO to college? And just how much does it help in that room having him as a guy that technically already has college experience out there?
Yeah, it helps a lot. It's a big jump. There's no question about it, going from high school to junior college. Now, he was part of a great junior college program out in Mississippi, so he's used to winning. But, getting here and understanding how we do things in the weight room, academically, on the practice field, even though you are an older guy and you're not fresh out of high school, it's still new in so many ways. But I feel like the adjustment's gone well. He was a little banged up from a health standpoint initially, but he's past that and doing everything full speed. And Travian is doing a great job of, coaching him hard and being demanding. And we need him to come on. It's like I've talked to all those defensive linemen, Jack, like Boogie, Tonka, TJ. I love seeing them out on the practice field today when they were out watching us, but they ain't coming back. And DeAndre Jules, he's gone. So there's your top 4 defensive tackles. So who is going to step up? And we're still trying to figure that out. And Xavion has an opportunity to, along with those other guys. But we're eager to see who takes the next step in that room. And it's wide open right now.
We've got 6 days until the possible signing of the House settlement. I'm curious, over the last couple months, what conversations have you had with other SEC coaches and Jeremiah in making sure that you guys are all prepared and have your ducks in a row when that possibly goes into effect in July?
Yeah, other SEC coaches, none really, other than when we went to New Orleans in, what was that, February? We went to New Orleans and we met with the athletic directors for 2 days. That was the bulk of our trip to New Orleans, was those discussions, but there's just so much uncertainty too. There was then, and there still is now as well. The conversations with Jeremiah and Jeff Crane, a lot, just in regards to, and I'm no different than any other coach, here at South Carolina. I've, talked to Kaylin, our women's golf coach, about it, and I've talked to different coaches about it, and Jeremiah's done a great job with all of the head coaches in the departments of being transparent with them best he can. And then he and I have certainly had a lot of conversations, because we know what's coming on April 7th. We know, what the possibilities are, but even what happens on April 7th, there's still some uncertainty about what happens then too. So you're kind of, there's like plan A, if this happens, there's plan B, if this happens, there's plan C, if this happens, but this doesn't happen with it, there's plan D, if this happens and this does happen with it. And that's a challenge as you're sitting here going into the, Lamont and Dawn are dealing with it right now. I guess their portal is open. Our portal opens, April 16th, I think, is when the next transfer portal is for us. So Jeremiah has been great. My conversations with him, just being able to, tell me as much as he can tell me and give us as much clarity, but we're all trying to, figure out exactly what this thing is going to look like. When I say all of the coaches here at Carolina, and really all the coaches across the country in so many ways too.
Mike Shula said in his press conference that he wants LaNorris to run the ball when he wants to, not when he needs to, and sort of mix the running and passing into his game. It's early, but what have those conversations looked like to getting LaNorris's passing, I don't want to say in order, but on par, and how has he looked in that regard so far?
Yeah, I feel good. It's a little bit different in practice because, we're not going to let him run every time in practice. Usually I'm going to blow the whistle and things like that as well, and not get tackled. We've made him live before, but we're not doing that right now in practice. So there's times where certainly he takes off running and the defense is screaming that they tackled him and that they made a sack, and I just kind of look at him and I'm like, come on, fellas, really, we're still doing this with LaNorris. You didn't make that tackle. But so I'm fine there. He's got a good feel on when to run and when not to run. As far as a passer, I think he's done a good job and continues to improve. He made a lot of big-time throws last season for us, and I've seen him make throws this spring. And you think about it, he's doing it with a lot of new receivers and new tight ends. Jared Brown's back, Nick Harbor, Mazio, but after that, it's a ton of new faces at the receiver position. Tight end wise, Brady's back and Mo Brown's back, but Jordan Dingle's new. So there's just a lot of new faces out there, and they're trying to get timing down and things like that as well. So I've seen him, certainly grow as a passer, and will continue to. And he's a great playmaker for sure. And I think what Coach Shula was alluding to too is just, understanding what's going on, making sure your drop and your footwork are exact and the ball is coming out on time. And then if there's an opportunity to run after you've done all that the right way, then more power to you. We're not against LaNorris running by any stretch of the imagination, but there's times certainly where we, want him to take throws that are there before we run also.
I think I understood that the spring game won't be televised live or throughout the summer. Is that something that coaches all across the SEC chose to do, or is it just an individual decision or a decision y'all made independent of what your opponents are doing?
I would say it's independent, but from what I can tell, I think most of us are on the same page. The best I understand it, Hale, is we had an opportunity to either televise the spring game, and I don't know if it would have been live. I don't know if it would have been replayed at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. I don't know. Or put together it was either a 30-minute or 60-minute show to basically document your football program on SEC Network. I chose the show because I just felt like from a recruiting standpoint, if I'm a high school recruit, I love what we do in the spring game, and I love the competition and the energy and the fans that the players get to see on television, but we'll have so many players that'll be here in person for the spring game. I felt like it would be more beneficial for us from a recruiting standpoint to be able to put together a show that can highlight our program, and we can, if all of you guys are recruits for us, we can let you know when this show is coming on, and you can watch this and learn a lot about our football program, and probably be more impactful from a recruiting standpoint than watching a 2-hour spring game on television. I certainly am sensitive to the people that want it on television that aren't able to get here to see it in person, and I certainly respect that, and I'm sorry that it won't be on television. For those people that enjoy watching it on television, hopefully you can get here in person to see it. I know not everyone can, but then there's also the competitive aspect of it as well. And frankly, Hale, like if I think I read that of the 16 SEC teams, 2 of them are maybe doing a televised spring game, I believe. I think I saw that A&M was, and somebody else, if I'm not mistaken. But from a competitive standpoint, if there's a spring game on television, we tape it and we watch it. And that's how, we can watch personnel and say, okay, we're playing, who's our first SEC game this year? Vanderbilt, I think. I think Vandy's our first SEC game. Vandy, Missouri, Kentucky, somewhere up there at the beginning. But we could watch their spring game and just kind of get an idea about personnel and who's lined up where and things like that as well. So it's not very smart from my standpoint that if nobody else is going to be on television, why I would put ours on television for our opponents to study what we're doing schematically, which it's going to be vanilla for everybody in the country in the spring game. Nobody's going to go out there and show all the new stuff that they're doing in the spring game, but you still can get a feel for new players, and it's different more than ever now because of the transfer portal. Last year was a nightmare for us getting ready for Old Dominion because their spring game wasn't on television and their whole roster was like news, so you really have no idea who's lined up where, who's doing what, in addition to other schematic changes that they might have made in the offseason. So we're doing a show. Sorry. Yeah, I could have said that quicker and saved you 2 minutes, but that's why.
Deion almost was able to sneak in that game against Syracuse until the NCAA, said no. Yeah. But that being coming as close as it did, does it give you maybe some hope that this could be something that will be worked on?
Yeah, definitely. Sounded like it was close that it was going to happen. Y'all know me. You were covering us when I was an assistant coach here back in 2007, 8, 9, and 10, and I was talking about it then and still am. I would love it. And I think a lot of the coaches in this league were in the same boat, that they would not be against doing it, would certainly be in favor of it. The thing that was tough this time is if the NCAA just let Syracuse and Colorado do it and not anybody else, at such short notice. I mean, a lot of teams I think have already finished spring ball. We had some coaches from Furman that were here today. They were already finished with spring practice, so for teams that didn't get that opportunity because they're already done with spring ball, it would be a little bit of a competitive disadvantage for them. But gives me hope, and we'll see what happens. And certainly I'd be all for it, whether it be springtime or, especially in the preseason.
You're good. Thank you. Yep. Sorry. One more question on the spring game. How much do you try to treat it like a traditional scrimmage or game as opposed to it's just like another practice for you guys?
We try and make it as much like a game as possible and not another practice. Now, we haven't gotten into the specifics of this year, Jack, as far as the structure of it, but as long as we have, healthy bodies and we've been able to stay fairly healthy. As long as we have healthy bodies, I want to have, 2 teams and play it as much like a game as we possibly can. Now, are you going to see Lenoris Sellers in the fourth quarter? Probably not. But would he be in the spring game and playing some? Yeah. And it just goes back to, kind of what Phil said. We don't get any kind of opportunity against another team. So we want to treat it as much like a game as we possibly can, because the next time that we're playing in front of a big crowd is going to be in Atlanta. against Virginia Tech. So we want to make it as much game-like as we possibly can.
Through these first half spring practices, what's kind of been your assessment of special teams battle being a kicker, punter, and long snapper?
Yeah, they've all flashed and had their moments. We've got 4 snappers that are out there competing right now, and they've all flashed and had their moments. So that's where it starts. We can sit here and talk about the kicker and the punter all day. If we can't get the snap back there accurately, it's probably not going to matter who's back there. So we've got to step up there and be better. There's no question about it. And then from a kicking and punting and holding standpoint, I've been pleased. I think those guys have all been, consistent. Mason Love's doing a really nice job punting the ball right now, and all those guys are certainly have had their moments and have given us confidence as well. And it'll be key for those guys to, one, get in the stadium and be a part of some scrimmages. But going back to what Jack said, we need to kick the crap out of the ball in the spring game to put those guys in some pressure situations where they got to make some kicks and punts in the stadium in front of a crowd also.
Moving to another position group, how has the running back competition been for the guys trying to fill in Rocket's spot?
Yeah, that's another good one where there's a lot of competition going on. Today we did today was short yardage goal line, so we did some live, full speed tackle to the ground, put the ball down on the 2-yard line, and Coach Shula, don't throw it, just run the ball 5 times, and let's see who can win, offense or defense. And we did the same thing with some short yardage situations where we said it's 4th and 1 on the whatever yard line, and you got to get it, don't throw it, run it. So those guys have all done a good job. You're going to need more than 1, you're going to need more than 2, you need more than 3, and those guys have all. They got a good skill set. I like that group a lot. I really do. Obviously, Sewell coming in has done a good job. Oscar's improved. Going back to last year, Fuller and Hal, they're really good young players that are going to be really, really good players for us here at Carolina and helping us on special teams because they both run really, really, really well as well. And then, Bradley Dunn's an older guy that's been around our program for a while and knows what to do. And then all those young guys behind them as well. So there's a lot of guys that are competing, and they're all trying to find a role on offense and special teams right now.
Coach Lucas was in here yesterday, obviously, and I can't remember how he labeled the effort points that he tallies up for his guys in his room, and he mentioned BT was first and Dylan was behind him by 2 points last week. What does that mean to have 2 of your top guys at that position who are playing with that type of effort?
Yeah, certainly. We talk about the standard that we want to play with around here and the way that we expect our guys to play with effort all the time. And I told BT that yesterday. Just, I continue to notice him. He continues to just flash and just make plays and do his job, and excited to see the way that he's improved. Dylan, same thing. But when those players are when you're, top players, your older guys are the guys that are setting the standard, leading the way, that's when you got a chance. I mean, we did a special teams drill today. It was just a one-on-one kickoff versus kickoff return, and Dylan's in that along with Brian Thomas and all of our guys. I mean, everybody is getting reps on special teams right now, and I heard Joe D, yelling at Dylan in a good way because he made a great play on a kickoff return, just one-on-one rep, and then Jeremiah may fire me after I say this, but then Lenoris came over because we were getting ready to go from that to the goal line period, and Lenoris wanted to jump into the drill, and he got in on kickoff return and went and did a rep and won the rep, So when your quarterback is taking special teams reps on his own and your starting defensive ends are giving the effort that they are, those young guys can't help but see that and say that's the way to do it, without a doubt.
All right, there's Shane Beamer's presser from earlier today. We re-racked that for you because couldn't get it at 12:30 because of some technical difficulties across the street. So there it is. We will discuss coming back next. Dave Adair even showed up. We'll see how Dave's face is doing after his root canal as well in the halftime show right here on The Game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. And Dave Adair survived. He lived. He made it through 16 hours of surgery for his root canal. The audience is dying to hear you talk, Dave. What do you got?
I thought it'd been talk a little bit.
You sound better than I thought, Dave.
You sound better than usual, Dave.
Well, it's wearing off now after 5 hours in the dentist chair.
Does your lip feel really big, or is like the side of your face is numb? What is it?
Yeah, the whole side of the face is numb.
You know what we should do? Because we know we are so video friendly here now. We should get a video of me taking off my shoe and hitting Dave in his face and see if he feels it.
Sure. Sounds great.
Like that new movie, Novocaine.
Yeah. That guy,
doesn't feel pain.
Stab me in the back, that's fine.
That's what we'll do. We'll stab you in the face and see if you feel it.
Yeah. Why not? No, it was 3.5 hours, but there were reasons for it. The power went out. There was a wreck and took the power out. But luckily, he was just finished.
Doesn't he sound like we should give him a breathalyzer?
Yeah, Dave. I'm really glad you didn't get pulled over on the way over here.
You start talking to the police officer. Also,
I'm
okay,
fine over there.
do the alphabet backwards and do a triple somersault while you do the alphabet backwards.
This guy's telling me he's a captain. I don't see a boat anywhere.
All right, Shane Beamer, Presser. Dave, we're glad you're okay, man. Good job, bud. Happy for you. And everybody loves a good root canal. Shane Beamer, Presser. Shane went all over the place on a bunch of different stuff. We talked about some of it earlier when we were getting the updates on Twitter X. Shane also talked about Xavier Hardy.
Yep.
Xavier Howard played for Illinois. Xavier Hardy. And again, we're just one of those guys, and there's a long list of guys, Tyler, who have potential, have upside, whatever the case. They just now have to step up and prove it on an SEC level as a starter or as a contributor. And Hardy's one of them. There's a lot of potential there. And if he could come in here and be part of a rotation in the interior defensive line and actually, be productive, obviously that's nothing but a good thing.
Well, that's the story of the entire defensive line room. A lot of potential, a lot of upside. Again, Goodwine, 4-star guy out of high school. Dindy, 5-star guy out of high school. Both went to SEC schools. Both didn't really do a whole lot while they were there. Coming here expecting to be better. Nick Barrett's been around for a while, but he's never been the guy in the defensive line room. Devontae Miles, he's done some things at Bowling Green. Again, Xavier Hardy, rec shop down in JUCO. How's that going to translate? Freshmen coming in, highly touted guys. How are they going to translate? Like, if there was one room where I'm just collectively throwing my hands up saying I don't know what's going to happen, it's that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And even you go to the edge. I mean, we feel better, obviously, with Dylan Stewart, but the other side with Brian Thomas. Look, Brian Thomas had some moments last year, right?
Sure.
But now he's going to be asked to have a lot more moments.
Yeah, you're asking him to be Kyle Kennard.
Yeah, basically.
Because that's what you need on the other side to allow Dylan Stewart to either A, garner all the attention, or B, be left alone where he can go out there and wreak havoc.
Or make teams pay for doubling Dylan Stewart.
Yes.
And that's what you need from Brian Thomas or whoever
You have to have a comparable threat on the other side.
JT Gear is interesting to me because he had 5.5 sacks at Syracuse a couple of years ago, came in through the portal, and when you see him on the field, it looks like there's something there.
Sure.
He's a big guy who can move well. And again, he does have a resume of production at Syracuse from a couple of years ago. He just can't stay on the field because of injuries. He's kind of a wild card in all this.
Yep.
Can he stay healthy and be part of a rotation opposite of Dylan Stewart that could make teams pay for all the attention that Stewart's going to get?
Right.
We're all over the place this weekend. Friday, Tyler, Jen, Bill, Preston, whole crew at Darlington. We do this twice a year. I know you hate going there.
Yeah, it sucks.
I know, but we will be doing the early game and the extra point from Darlington on Friday. Thanks to our buddies Schroeder's Towing for sponsoring another Schroeder's Roadshow. Another Schroeder's Roadshow to Tampa. That's where Elijah will be broadcasting live Thursday and Friday for the women's Final Four. If South Carolina gets to Sunday, we'll have a special local pregame show with Elijah and Tyler. So we're all over the place this weekend at Darlington and in Tampa with the women. Halftime show, Firehouse Up Text the Hour, and our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine with Jay Phillips, is all coming up next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All righty, halftime show. Kind of a little clunky end of this thing. We're gonna have a Firehouse sub text of the hour coming up at 803-404-6100, and we'll do 2 short segments of a handoff sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine with Jay Phillips, because we're trying to get caught up. Shane Beamer talking to the media. Did you hear any of that there, Phillips?
I did. Heard all of it, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, word for word.
Well,
Run it back to me.
I didn't memorize it. I think the biggest thing that I took was how the young kids especially are acclimating. I didn't quite realize just how many, I guess it was like, 3 kids that reclassified, and then you've got a bunch of freshmen on campus. I think it's good. There wasn't a whole lot of strategic stuff, and I think there was a question about backup quarterbacks, which again, that's a football fan's favorite subject when you think about it. But you know what? I will say, I know he talked a lot about the battles on the defensive front too, but y'all, they've got depth. Now, what it looks like when they come to start in August and September, well, that's a different story for now. But in terms of when you look at the names, I mean, when he was talking, I quickly scrolled to the website to look at the roster, because again, there's no depth chart, and I've done this a couple of times, but I have short-term memory kind of a thing. But I was like, well, he played, and he played. Like that, and that's just tackles. I was like, you got depth.
It's interesting on defense because we're really all over the field. And one of the things remember when they went 5-7, and Shane said he looked at everything. Remember we talked to him over at the golf tournament. He said, I looked at everything we did. What you saw going into last year, that I think you see also going into this year, I mean, you don't have a Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight. At least doesn't feel like you have that coming in. A guy did something in the past, so he's got an experienced resume. But what they did do last year, Jay, was build depth. And this year, they built depth. Now, it's unproven depth this time, but you got a ton of depth. I mean, let's look at the interior of the offensive line. Tyler and I were talking about this earlier. You've got guys who've been in the program, like the Marquis Andersons, the Cam Pringles, you got Tree, you got Trove. You've also added 3 guys from the transfer portal who have started.
Right.
So you got 7 guys for 3 spots.
Yeah. It's great. And again, you just mentioned it. Think about it. You go back to the 5-7 year when Tree and Tro had to start.
Yeah.
As true freshmen, and they weren't. Listen, Josiah is a different kind of guy, right? But when you look at how many guys have played, and again, Markey was going to play last year, and then he got hurt.
Right.
So you talk about his level of experience and growth, and then just the things he absorbed in film session last year and things like that. So I'm encouraged by what they've got. Look, I'm not going to sit here and go, hey, they're going to win 12 games. I'm not here to do that. But I feel good about who they are and who they've got.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's like, and all these kind of position battles we're talking about, you have guys who've been in the program for 2 or 3 years, some guys who are highly thought of coming out of high school, but you also add to the portal, so then you're just not going, well, it's time for that guy to develop. In a perfect world, he does when it's his turn, but we've also seen that doesn't work all the time, right?
Right.
So now you got reinforcements in depth to just say that guy doesn't work. Well, guess what? Next man up.
Yeah,
Let's
there's
go.
somebody
Let's
else.
roll.
No, I think they have quality depth. Now you got to go win football games, but I like he knows what he's doing.
You think?
He knows.
He's all right?
Yeah, I mean, when you consider where he's been, listen, the number one reason South Carolina was as good as they were under Steve Spurrier, in my opinion, was they had such quality depth. Yeah, you had A-line dudes, no doubt. But when they went down, you had depth. And that's what you have to have. He's coached at Oklahoma. He's coached at Georgia. What do they have? Depth. You have to be able to plug and play. This is, again, to borrow from Dan Reeves, this is college football. You better go get some players.
Well, I think also Shane listens to this radio station from 6A to 6P and gets ideas. Don't you think so?
I do know he listens. I don't know how
he does listen.
I don't know how often.
We know we know.
Yeah.
We know. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, every once in a while I might get something that said, hey, I heard so-and-so. Like, did I get it right or wrong?
Who's his favorite?
I don't want to say.
Who's his least favorite? Is it Bill?
Gunner.
Yeah. Who's that short guy in the mornings?
That little feller.
I mean, you knew the answer to that one. I think he doesn't have a favorite. He just has a.
Oh, so what is up? Michi's back. I know you're going to get into that.
Well, I will not lie. I will not lie to you. About an hour ago, I texted my co-host.
Was it April Fool's
joke? I said, this isn't an April Fool's gag, is it? So we will discuss that. Lulu Keston's going to join us. So we got some baseball to talk about. My Braves are in a world of hurt.
Hey,
and it only got worse. To go, man. It only got worse last night.
Long way to go, man. You got Profar. Oh, no, you don't. Anyway.
No, well, yeah. I mean, come on.
Nice job, Tyler. Dave, good 15 minutes of work, halftime show in the game.